Good evening, my name's Penny. This evening I'm starting a new series on YouTube. It's called Gentle Expansion. So you might have seen my videos called The Whole Woman, and they are all about different aspects of a fully rounded woman and for help with our self-development. But gentle expansion is another area, another concept that I have come up with that is for our self-development as well. So I think of self-development always in terms of expansion. So I think of it in terms of always expanding myself. So everything that I do in life is with the idea of expanding myself in some way, expanding my capabilities. And in doing so, expanding the experiences that I'm able to have. So the more we develop ourselves, the more we can experience a wider range of opportunities in life. So we're capable of more, and we're capable of attracting more, and we are more magnetic to people and other opportunities than we were before. So this gives us also the confidence to try new things, and that opens up a whole new world of opportunities for us. So to me, expansion is incredible. This is so exciting. It's an exciting way to live life. And I have coined the term gentle expansion because to me, some of the self-development practices that people adopt are quite harsh. They can be more like punishment than joy and self-care. So gentle expansion is a type of expansion that comes along with a lot of self-love, a lot of self-care and self-protection. It's cushioning ourselves as we expand. So realizing that expansion is difficult and we need courage to expand. We need to be brave, and sometimes that's difficult. And we are asking a lot of ourselves to want to step out into unknown worlds, to want to be more than we were or more than we thought we could be. It's not an easy path to take, and we need to acknowledge that for ourselves. So to me, gentle expansion is expansion that doesn't create more trauma. So if we choose practices that are very traumatic for ourselves, then that just gives us more trauma to heal. And a lot of the point of spiritual development is to heal past trauma, trauma from our childhood, from our younger years, from even our ancestors, our ancestral trauma. So we don't want to give ourselves more trauma to heal, because if we are thinking about healing trauma all the time, then we're really in this survival place. We're still at the base level. It's very difficult to expand if we are trying to heal that base trauma that we have. And obviously that's the most important thing to do first. But expansion is a bit more than that. It's being able to become more, to step out from that survival, from that healing, from just becoming whole. Expansion happens when we are whole and we feel like we have the capacity to take on more and to be more, to step into our full potential as a being, rather than just survive, rather than just be okay. And when we can expand and be more than just okay, we have so much more to share with the world and with others. We become a beacon of light to others, an example of who they can be, and we become inspirational, and that is a beautiful thing, and it's a beautiful role to take on, and we all have the capacity to take on that role for others. And so I think gentle expansion is the way to go. So it's loving ourselves through those challenges with expansion. So tonight I'm going to start with my first topic about expansion, and that is my road trip. So I've actually had 2 road trips this year. It's the first time I've really had a road trip by myself. So I've driven certain distances within one day many times, but not a multi-day road trip on my own. So there are many reasons for this. I have travelled a lot overseas, definitely, over the years, not for quite some time now, but I haven't actually driven somewhere by myself. So when I was a child, we did a lot of road trips, and that was the way that we mostly travelled. Air travel was quite expensive then. So I was familiar with that, but it never occurred to me that that was something that I was interested in now. But that could also be that I lived out of Queensland for a long time. I was in Melbourne for 8 years of my life as an adult, and I didn't have a car during that time. I also spent almost a year overseas on 2 separate occasions, 6 months for one and 3 months for the other. And although I did drive a little bit when I was in Switzerland, I didn't drive during the time I was in London, so that was almost 6 months. So probably almost 9 years of my adult life, I haven't had a car to drive. So I guess I had to build up my confidence a bit with driving. I feel like, in a way, when I'm driving, I feel very confident, and I've been doing it since I was 18. And yeah, so there's no problems, but part of me as a child was afraid of the idea of driving. I think it's being a highly sensitive person, empath, if you like labels, that I am aware of the danger of things, and driving is to me a very dangerous occupation, and I'm aware of that when I'm on the road. So it is something that I don't take lightly, and so that, in a way, I felt this year that that was something that was probably standing in my way a little bit. So because I haven't lived in the city for a long time, most of the time in my life I've lived in smaller places when I've had a car. So Brisbane is a different type of driving, and it's a bit busier, and I wasn't so used to it. So I wanted to challenge myself a bit this year. So I have done a lot more driving when I've had my car on the mainland. So that is an issue also when you live on an island. It costs a lot to take your car on the barge. So it is something that I only do every few months. But when I have, I've done as much driving as I could. So I decided to do my road trip down south. So I went to Port Macquarie. So that was the longest drive I've done, and took several days just in exploring, enjoying everything along the way, the places that I hadn't really seen properly. And also, I've just come back from my road trip north. So I went as far as Yeppoon because I have a friend who lives in Yeppoon, and along the way I saw my sisters and my nephews, which was lovely. So that was all part of the plan, to see the people that I wanted to see, but also do that exploring, build my confidence on the road, and just have that motivation for life. I get motivation from novelty, from new things, from exploring, and it helps me to be creative when I'm seeing and experiencing different things and meeting different people and talking to people. I'm really enjoying that. I used to be very quiet, but now I'll just talk to strangers anywhere, which is very interesting, and I learn a lot of things. So I was in Maryborough and I just started talking to the ladies at the tourist information, and I found out one of them was a former opera singer, and we had this amazing chat, and I went to see the dolphins in Tin Can Bay, and I met a lovely lady and her daughter, and they were chatting to me, and then I gave my ticket to one of the children there because I didn't have time to stay for feeding the dolphins. I had to go and work with my student. So I was advised that I could give the ticket to a child who could then have 2 turns at feeding the dolphins. So I was very happy to do that. And his mother immediately said, I want to buy you a coffee for that. So, and you know, I didn't expect her to buy me a coffee, as I was very happy to give the ticket. It didn't matter to me at all that, because I wasn't able to stay, but she insisted on buying me a coffee. And then the other lady I was chatting to offered to buy me a coffee too, and I had to say, oh, somebody's already buying me a coffee. So these were 2 people that I had only known for 5 minutes, like just chatting. I barely knew them at all, and they were both wanting to buy me a coffee. So there are amazing, beautiful people in the world, and when you travel alone, often that's when you connect with those people. And so that was a bit special, I thought. And yeah, just have those experiences, a lot of beautiful experiences, and that makes it very exciting for me. Very introverted, and I love to travel alone and just be that feeling of freedom. When I got on the road, I just felt like, this is who I am. So even though sometimes I don't feel it, I feel like overwhelmed by the thought of going all that way on the road on my own, and it's a bit scary to me. But when I'm doing it, I'm like, this is me. This is freedom. This is amazing. And I loved it. And my expansion during this trip, of course, all those things that I mentioned, socially, physically, emotionally, and mentally, because there's a lot of concentration that takes place when you're on the roads as well, and that's something to build up your stamina, so that's a mental expansion. But also my expansion spiritually, which is my most important, and to me spirituality is everything. So all the other expansion is part of it, because we are spiritual beings in a physical body. So it's all tied up together. I don't really separate it, but it was an exercise in trusting the universe and a higher power. And so I felt that in the first trip a lot. I felt very conscious of that, because suddenly I'm having experiences, for instance, the internet not working with Vodafone for a lot of the way down south. So the GPS was then not working. So I'm on my own, I can't navigate for myself. So I had to be reading the signs, and I don't generally pay a lot of attention to the signs. So that was suddenly feeling a bit vulnerable and having to change my direction or my thoughts, the way I was doing things at the last minute. So that was something that was a bit challenging. So to me, that was an opportunity to trust that everything would be fine, that I would find the place I needed to find. And sometimes to not have that, and to know the name of the place you're staying but not know how to get there because the GPS is not working. So this was just asking my celestial team, as I call them. I call them my angels or my celestial team, those people on the other side, those beings that are assisting me, including my higher self, source, whoever you feel that you look to, you can call them, but I usually say angels. I need help. And just that trusting that that's going to happen. So one of my friends here on the island said that she asks for a vortex of protection when she's on the motorway, because I'm not a big fan of the motorway. It doesn't feel good to me. It feels extremely intense, and when there's a lot of lanes in particular. So particularly the Gold Coast motorway, I didn't feel very safe there. So I avoided motorways when I could, but sometimes I couldn't. So I would just say it's mostly getting onto the motorway that makes me a bit nervous. So I said, I need a vortex of protection. I'm about to go on the motorway. And I did that all the way along, and everything went well. I came back safely, and that was practicing that trust, knowing that no matter what went wrong, I would get there, I'd be fine. I just needed to trust. So my expansion on the second trip was that I felt that I didn't feel that concern anymore. I just knew that I'd be okay. And so I wasn't so aware of all the things that could possibly go wrong. It was just, let's focus on this, what I need to do in this moment. So in each moment, I need to get here today. I need to get here now. Let's put the GPS on, let's get in the car, let's put my sunglasses on, let's get ready. So I would think about just that thing. I need to get here, and then I need to do this. So once I'm here, okay, now I need to find out how to use the internet because I need to work. And so I did a lot of work on this trip with my students mostly. I taught some online sessions for uni as well. And then in the end, I did a lot of marking of assignments. So I actually was pretty busy and had to fit those in. And so there is concern that, I need good internet service everywhere I go. But I didn't think a lot about it. I just believed it would be okay. Like my level of trust on this second trip was so much higher than the first one. And basically everything went so well. I didn't have these hiccups. I didn't have these anxieties and these things that almost went wrong. The internet was amazing. I got everywhere safely. My car was untouched. It was perfect. Had no issues with it. When I need a service station, it's just there. You know, whatever I needed, it was there. And I believe that's because I had started to embody or internalize that kind of trust rather than it being something I had to work on, that mindset. So I think you plug away at these mindsets. You know that you want to believe a certain thing, you want to be a certain way, and you want to trust, or whatever the thing you're working on is. And that can happen for a long time. It's not easy to change these things. It is something that is effort and intention and perseverance that you keep practicing and practicing until something becomes part of you, and then it becomes who you are. And that's what I feel. So I have those affirmations, those intentions, and then all of a sudden I realize, wow, that's become part of who I am. It's not just something I'm trying to do anymore. It's me. I am that. And to me, that's one of the most exciting feelings in the world. That feeling of, oh, wow, I've started to embody that way of being. And I felt that more and more. Like, I have worked on that for years, but on this second road trip, I felt in the flow that everything just did flow without any hiccups because of my embodiment of that trust in the universe. So that was a really positive thing for me, and yeah, I'm really excited about my road trips, and I don't know what is next, but as far as gentle expansion, I go with the subtle nudges, as I call them. They're not a forced thing. I just feel inspired to do something, and to me, that is the way to go with expansion. It's the inspiration. Don't go with punishment or fear or things that you feel you have to conquer unless you feel inspired. Don't go with something just because somebody else thinks that you should overcome something. This is something internal. Motivation is innate and it's internal, and it comes from you. So if you really feel this is something I want to work on, then that's when you take the steps towards it. So I feel like not everybody needs to go on a road trip. Not everybody needs to master the road and feel confident in a vehicle. This is not for everybody. It's just that I felt that was something that would benefit me. And it was something that I was excited about. And I thought, okay, I have the motivation for this. I have the energy for this. And when I come back, I'm going to be more of who I am. I'm going to be more. And that's what drives me. So when I feel like, no, I'm not doing this to please anyone, but I'm doing it to be more, so that who knows what's next. So when I'm more, I may be inspired to do something that I had no idea that I would be inspired to do. So that's what excites me. And so I hope you enjoyed my story, and I look forward to the next video on gentle expansion.